Hi, I'm Keel Johnson. Welcome to Play Politics. With me today is Hanan Daka. Hanan is a Palestinian-American producer. Most of Hanan's work is focused on women's empowerment, immigrants, diversity, and inclusion. And I would like to welcome back Vincent Scott. Vincent is a political analyst, a member of the Fairfax County Republican Committee, and purveyor of the website facebook.com/political. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Well, another busy week in politics, so let's get started. Trump said a few days ago that he is not aware of anyone in his campaign having conversations with Russia. And it seems that that's not true. It seems that Flynn had conversations, but gave not very much accurate information to Vice President Pence.
Yes.
So do you think that Trump is trying to deceive us? Do you think he really doesn't know what's going on?
That's a hard question to answer. He had this massive news moment a couple of days ago where they kind of cornered him with those questions.
It was a moment, all right.
And he seemed to confuse or try to confuse the difference between campaign contact and post-election pre-inauguration contact.
Right.
It's pretty clear that they had post-campaign pre-inauguration contact with Russia. Now the contact prior to that during the campaign period, I'm still not clear on that. He's
not being clear.
He's denying it.
Yeah.
And none of the records or any of the leaked memos that we've heard of so far has really linked it during the campaign.
Right.
But I can't believe it didn't happen. I guess the question becomes, if it did, so what? But then again, it goes back, why wouldn't he just acknowledge it? I am sure that he was in touch with a lot of foreign leaders during the campaign.
Well, and it's
you
important.
Would think.
It's important, and if he did, and he doesn't mention it to the American public, then there is that trust issue.
Exactly.
But I feel that he's not transparent, and I mean his style, in many ways, even if he thinks that he should not inform the public on everything that's going around him, or I feel that he's maintaining this space or between us and him.
And maybe that goes back to the fact that he is a businessman. He's never been in politics before, and he's going on the offensive. He feels that if something goes wrong, he can fix it himself. Then why does he even need a cabinet? He can't work from that type of mind frame. It doesn't work.
I still see also that it is his personality. It's not just that he's not experienced in politics. I think that sometimes what is moral to us, maybe it's not what's moral to him. If we think this is our right, that we need to be informed, he thinks it is his authority or it is his area of, he knows better.
That's one way to capture it. I have the feeling that Donald Trump believes he's right. And I'm not saying that he's not right, but what he doesn't have is the politician's edge to be able to convey that to the American public. He seems to believe that the questions are beneath him. But why would you so what if we, just like I said, so what if we did have contact? Why are you asking me that? That's an inane question. And that could that's, as you say, I don't know if he's trying to hide something or if he just doesn't have the political knowledge to be able to engage with the public the way you as the public want him to do.
I don't know. I feel that he's, as a personality, he's not comfortable being open and transparent. He gets offended easily too. I mean,
Well, he does have his advisor. I wonder if she's been advising him on how to approach things. That's one of the reasons why she's there.
Are you talking about Kellyanne?
I'm talking about Kellyanne.
Oh, Kellyanne. She's another piece of work there. I mean, she got him through the election.
Right.
We spoke about this on the last show, that his initial campaign with his first two campaign managers were terrible.
Right.
In the minds of all conservatives everywhere. It was just not well done. When she came on board, his tweeting changed a little bit. It certainly didn't stop. She started making him use a teleprompter during his campaign stops, and he seemed to get a little better and a little bit more focused with her. However, now that he's been elected and has taken office, I'm not sure she's having too much influence on him, because all of his people have to come out on a daily basis to explain something that he said. And if I would hate to be his press secretary. I would hate it to come out every day trying to explain what my boss said the day before.
Well, and now she's under fire for backing Ivanka and her clothesline, her Nordstrom clothesline. So that was interesting that happened. You would think that she would have been smart enough to not let that happen, but who knows?
But also she did many other things. I mean, the way she was not accurate and precise when she mentioned a few days about the hidden information about the massacre or something.
Right.
So I don't see that she is someone.
That was a big one.
Yeah, I don't see that she's someone who have high moral standards. I don't know.
Going back to it, and I'm just going to try to throw them a bone. She's not been in the game either. She's been a political pundit on the election side of the House. She's worked many a campaign, but she's never had public office where she had to deal with the American public and the scrutiny that you get when you're in the White House. When you're on a campaign and there's 15 reporters putting a microphone in your face, you pick which one you want to talk to. When you're in that press room, they're all coming at you.
They are.
And if you're not comfortable with that situation, I'm not saying she shouldn't be better at it, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt for the time being, that she's speaking faster, that her mouth is speaking faster than her brain is
just
engaging.
like her boss, don't you think? I'm sorry.
And also, one of the reporters at the press conference wanted to know what he was going to do regarding the inner city, and also the Black Caucus. And I don't know if you remember, but he turned it around on that reporter and he said, "Do you want to do it? Do you want the job?" And she said, "No, I'm a reporter." So again, he didn't answer a question. He's skirting around everything.
On that one, that was reported. What was the word we found? Fake news? There was some fake news that came out about. That did happen the way that you just described it, with one minor addition. He did at first become confrontational with her, but then he explained why. And not much of the news covered that. He explained why, that he had tried to be in contact with the Black Caucus and had invited them to many a meeting and their leadership, and they had yet to accept. They had declined every meeting he had offered them. So should that have been the first thing? Yes, it probably should have, but so there was
and it didn't turn out that way because, like you said, he gets easily offended. You have to have a tougher skin.
In my opinion, I just want to be honest and open and say that I do feel that he is somehow he's vulnerable inside. He can be overwhelmed by a compliment too. If you compliment him, he will love you so much. I mean, I do feel that he's vulnerable inside. He doesn't take criticism easily or gracefully. But as a president, you should contain, let people talk, encourage them to speak up their mind. Don't be offended. It's a critical position that I expect you to be a different person. honestly. This is not being vulnerable inside and offended easily is not a quality that I accept in a president.
Oh, okay. Well, you've got one.
I don't know.
Yeah. So let's shift gears for a moment. I wanted to talk about Islam, and it's nice that Netanyahu and President Trump met. It's nice that he said that he has always been a great supporter of Israel, but Israel and the Palestinians, there's always been this discord, and I'm wondering how Trump is going to break through that. I'm also trying to figure out why there is that discord, and maybe if we knew, maybe we would know better how to handle it. Maybe he would know better how to handle it. What do you think?
I believe, one, to answer your question, he will not resolve it. Mm-hmm. We've had, in my lifetime, at least 6 to 7 administrations, all the way back to Jimmy Carter, trying to resolve that issue. It is not going to get resolved. That issue's 3,000 years old. That issue is not necessarily as much Palestine and Israel as it is Muslim and Jew. That goes back. It just goes back. Now, granted, the Muslim community and the Jewish community do not get along. In the Bible, the Jewish community is God's people.
Right.
And in the Muslim community, the Jewish people aren't much of anything within their religion. But then we add to that we carved out in 1948 part of the Palestinian land and made a state of Israel, which is Jewish. It just compounded the fact. Now, in the Western world, the way that we think about it, we try to think about it logically. Okay, it's happened, it's this, it's that, it's the other. Fact. I don't believe that the Muslim side and the Palestinian side, the Iranian side of the fence, they have an emotional attachment to it. They have a spiritual. They have a bond to what they believe is true, and it's not just because it's not a governmental decision. In my opinion, it's more of a spiritual belief. And so when you're trying to fight logic with religion, I don't know how you're ever going to come, especially logic with religion, when you're trying to pair two divergent religions, how it will ever come to a head.
Hannon, go ahead.
But first of all, I think you said that the problem is not between Palestinian and Israelis. The problem is between Muslims and Jews. I don't think the problem is between Muslim and Jews. I think it's between Muslim and Israel. That's a different. Israel as a country, not Jews as a religion or as people. And I'm very aware of that because I think there's many Jews, and I have a long history with Jews. I don't think I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and I can tell you, studying religion in the school or whatever, it's a very strong idea that is put in my heart, and everyone, a deep respect for Jewish and Christians. It's out of the question. It's a very solid belief. A huge respect comes to Christianity and Jewish people, both and Christians. So, but in the same time, I have to say that we, even though we respect them, we acknowledge them, we look at them as, part of us somehow. There's a special place for them, but still I have to acknowledge that we think our religion is better. We do think Christianity and Jewish have probably a limited version or some, whatever. We think we have a better religion. That's what's going on. But inside, I never was taught to hate Jews or Christians in any way.
You weren't, but it sounds like a lot of them were.
It's not hate. As I said, maybe there is, we resent Israel. Like many people in the region think Israel is something that was forced on them. not because they are Jews, because they were forced on them. You don't, and they took piece of their holy land. I mean, that's and not just this. They also, there were so many victims because of them. Like people kicked out of their homes. They became refugees. They became, you know how hard. Honestly, I never realized how hard it is to be a refugee until I came to this country. Because when I came here, I read some books about the Japanese or whatever, and then I started to reflect, wow, if those Japanese who suffered and wrote a book about their struggle, how being in a camp changed their life forever, and they stayed in the camp for 2 years or a couple of years, how can those Palestinians who grew up there, I mean, who lived for 50 years or more than 50 years, how can they, I'm sure they are very damaged inside. I mean, there is a lot of issues that resulted from a country called Israel.
So I would offer to you, answer the question, can it be resolved? And if so, how?
It is hard, but I don't think it is just it's just that the Muslims are rejecting Israel, but also the Israel. I mean, the rule, like you heard Netanyahu, he said that they have to acknowledge us as a Jewish country, and we have to have control of the security. So I mean, I feel
that's true, and I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, there is a lot of violence. I get how there's that history, the land, I get all that. But there's still the violence.
Okay.
There's still the violence.
Yeah, the violence is a very important piece to look at. I believe that violence doesn't come from nowhere, and it's not excused, but still, I mean, if we say there is hate, like Trump and Netanyahu, they both attacked that Palestinians have hate, but they didn't try to think, why do they have hate? I mean, and so the hate, if there is a hate, I think they were mistreated. There were many Palestinians who live in Israel, and they are called Arab Israelis, and they are fine with Israel. They are assimilated. I mean, they even, I think, they will not choose another country to live in. But why Palestinians who are excluded, who are left on their own, who have the worst resources, why they have hate? There is a reason. Another thing, I have to say that Palestinians, they need to work on themselves. I mean, I'm not sure, it's not only external forces that they live in a bad environment, they also have ideas that paralyze them. Like it can be, even the way we think about Islam is very, I mean, we inherited Islam. Islam that they practice is not, it's not a live process of thinking. It's not a result of their own thinking. It is a document, or it's a thinking that they inherited from, you know.
Exactly, and that's
and this is a problem too.
But we as a country, I don't know if we have that kind of time to figure out all of that. You know, for example, a couple days or maybe a day before that meeting, Netanyahu said that there's writing on the missiles that say the words "Israel must be destroyed." So when you're seeing something like that, it's hard to think about, okay, let's think about what they're going through. Let's think about what they went through. We're trying to save our lives here.
Well, here's the other part that I would like to ask Hanan about. What you just described is what the Palestinian adjacent, the people that were in the current Israel land, and the people adjacent went through. These missiles are in Iran. Iran's 1,000 miles away from Egypt. Egypt's conception didn't affect the Persians at all. All that affected was if you can consider the entire group of the Muslim community. Jordan's right next to Israel. They're not at war with Israel.
Exactly.
Iraq, a lot of folks in Iraq at war, in their mind, at war with it, and they're not adjacent. They're across the sea from Israel. So why are the displaced Muslims, especially Iran, so hateful of Egypt if it's not an underlying Muslim brotherhood type of concept. And when I say brotherhood, I don't mean the political party. I mean the people, the religion, the cohort of Muslim community.
So I mean, you say why there is hatred from Iran toward Israel? Or?
Yes. What did Israel ever do to Iran?
Okay. First of all, I never been in Iran. I met Iranian people just here in America. But I read on that topic, and my conclusion is like sometimes I read that there is the translation of the word whatever is not like I can say they think that Israel. This is what they think, but what they think, it doesn't mean that they want to have a military action against Israel. I feel from my reading, as I said, that they don't like Israel, and they are open about it. They are vocal about it, and I'm not.
Missiles with Israeli's name on it as the intended target sounds like they want to do something militarily.
But they never did. If you look at history, I mean, they never did.
Because they never could. Their capabilities, especially due to the most recent agreement that our beloved Barack Obama signed with them and gave them $1.8 billion. In 10 years, they can have nuclear capability for missiles, and it would be completely within the existing agreement.
But this is how I look at the Iran deal. I think the Iran deal fits very well with the American interest. It's maybe part of it. You look at the danger toward Israel, but the American deal, I mean, with Iran fits with the American interest because Iran is an important player in the region with Iraq and Syria, and they put ground troops. So they
From
are
that
an
perspective,
important.
I would agree with you.
So they
but it
are.
doesn't diminish the fact that I think Iran will, if they can, at some point in time, will attack Israel.
But I believe the leaders who made the deal, they measured. I mean, what should come first? I believe at this state where there's a lot going on with Iraq and Syria, a deal with Iran is important to America. Is in my belief, it is important to America.
I don't disagree
and
with
also
you. Not that deal, but a deal.
No, but also I believe as long as America has a deal with Iran, Iran cannot do anything anything bad to Israel. They are even controlling Iran more when it comes to. This is how I see it. I see it totally positive.
Iran does not have the capability to attack Israel at this point in time, period. They couldn't do it if they wanted to. But I do believe they want to, and I do believe they're moving in that direction. And I believe Netanyahu knows that.
I think he does too. But, we can talk about this for days and days and days, and it is a good topic. And but I just wanted to touch on something else. I wanted to talk about immigration and the wall that Trump wants to build, that we still don't know who's going to be paying for us with our taxes, but
we should not let this happen. Why should they pay for it? Because I don't believe in it. I'm sorry. I mean, right. I know. I don't believe building a wall will stop the problem.
Do you believe in vetting?
I mean, is it possible that we can help Mexican live a better life? I mean, in their own country?
I don't know. That's a good question.
So they will not need to come to us?
What I know is that they want to come here, and I can understand that. But I think there needs to be rules. There need to be guidelines. What do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, the vetting is a good thing. Mm-hmm. I don't mind the wall. I put the wall up. I don't care. But you still have got to have an immigration protocol.
Right.
Wall, like Trump says, a wall with a door. But you've got to have the right credentials to get through that door. Now, in Mexico, the good thing is that Mexico is a fairly well-developed country. Mm-hmm. If a citizen wants to become an American citizen from Mexico, there's a history of that citizen. Mm-hmm. There's a birth certificate. There's a history of their police records and everything. So we can get that to look at people from Mexico and vet them. But where it comes in is the 7 nations that he said stop the immigration from that has since been overturned. Mm-hmm. Most of those nations aren't that well developed with their administrative procedures. That people coming, trying to apply for citizenship, even refugees, had no credentials. They said, my name is what their name is, and they said, show me your papers, and there is no papers.
Right.
There's no background on these people and no government records to help us determine and vet them. So in that regard, until such time as we find a way that we can vet those folks, minus their papers, well, how else can we vet them? What else can we look at? I think that putting a hiatus on the immigration is the best idea he ever came up with.
Hannon, what do you think, real quick?
I feel that the message is just, I don't know what to say, but I feel that I don't think it will add to the security, and I don't see that. I feel that it creates an atmosphere that somehow Muslims are not welcomed, and it is obvious. You can see that in Trump, which is, I don't know.
The most populous Muslim states in the world were not on the list.
What do you mean?
Of the countries that he said he wanted to hold up immigration from, they weren't the most populous Muslim countries. Saudi Arabia wasn't on the list.
So how?
Iraq wasn't on the list. I mean, so when
But
you
it is
say
a starting point.
we're keeping out Muslims, we're keeping out people from those states, whether they're Muslim or not.
But I think he's specifically mentioned Muslims, and
he did during his. See, that's where it's gone off the rails. He did mention Muslims during his campaign. Another complete misspeak. But he shouldn't have done that, and that did send the wrong message. But what he actually didn't comport with that original message. It comported with security for these countries that we don't know who the people are. In my humble opinion.
But I mean,
And that's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
We could go on talking about this more and more, and I'd like to at some point in the future. I would like to thank Hannon and Vincent for joining me today, and I'll see you next time on Play Politics. Take care.